Want to welcome in a special guest this morning. Talk some college wrestling with Rutgers coach Scott Goodale. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
How's it going, man? Interesting choice. I thought you'd go with something from Vision Quest.
No. I'm not a big Vision Quest guy.
What?
Oh, my God.
It's the best wrestling movie ever.
I mean, I like it. It's a good movie. I like it. I like those guys. But Billy Joel. Billy Joel get you going here Saturday morning.
So you're taking a couple of quick breaths and get some golf in?
I am. I'm getting ready to go with my boy Matty Schott, South Jersey boy. He's probably listening actually on his way up, but we got a big match today. So 10 o'clock tee time down at Pine Barrens, so I'm fired up for it.
All right. What's your handicap, Coach?
Right now I'm an 8, but it's early. I got to start playing a little better. I played a couple rounds already. I got to get it down a little bit. I just need to get in spring. We got to get some good weather, and I'll be all right.
There you go. Wanted to bring you on, Coach, because we talked wrestling all winter, and to me, I think that's the hardest thing to do in the NCAA is to win an individual wrestling championship. I mean, you're talking about going through your conference tournament, a grueling season, then you get to NCAA championships, and you got to win 5 matches against the most elite competition there is in the country, and Talk a little bit about what it takes to get to that level, just to make the NCAAs. I mean, we saw C.J. Lafragola made it there from St. Joe down this way,
yep.
And he had a little bit of a tough time once he got there. I mean, the competition's so good, and to be able to go 5-0 there and win a national championship is just incredible to me.
Well, there's 2 ways to kind of look at it, right? I mean, for us, that Big Ten schedule prepares you so much for that tournament, and really getting through that Big Ten tournament is a huge, huge hurdle. Once our guys get through the Big Ten tournament, they feel like they can not only wrestle with anybody, but they can beat anybody. But it's a hard thing to do. Like all season long, you really have to have your A game. And, Nick Suriano was a great example. There was times he slipped up. He wasn't firing all cylinders, so to speak, and had a couple losses. But all that prepared him for the last 3 days of March, and ultimately that's what it's all about. So it is a hard thing to do to win that tournament. It's got to be 5 great matches. It's who's wrestling. I mean, on any given day, anybody can beat anybody, and you got to be really on top of your game for 5 big matches. And mentally, physically, emotionally, it's all got to be there. And for a couple of our guys, it was all there that weekend for sure.
Coach, you've had a couple weeks now to kind of soak it all in, going back to that historic night in Pittsburgh where Suriano and National brought home national titles for Rutgers. What's gone through your head since then? Since I last saw you, when you guys came back from Pittsburgh, came back to a nice little welcoming back, little gathering at the College Ave gym. Since then, these last 2 weeks, it's been a lot of celebration. I know National has plans now to wrestle and beat the streets. There's a lot of stuff going on now towards the summer. But what's it been like for you now, being able to soak that all in for the past 2 weeks?
Well, I think we kind of took a week to really, like you said, soak it all in and just enjoy everything that this administration and this university really has showered with us, so to speak, or given to us and embraced us when we came back to campus. It's been incredible. It's everything you've ever imagined. It's unbelievable, really. They've been really, really good to us. And it took about a week to kind of say, you know what, now it's time to get back to work. And our staff is, starting Monday, we've been in there every single day and have been recruiting and just really getting back to the whole grind of the thing, getting back to really what got us to this point and just working. We went back to work. We've been in a room 3 or 4 times with individuals. We've had a bunch of individual meetings. So for us, kind of, the celebration is kind of gone, right? Ashland announces yesterday he's going to wrestle and beat the streets, so immediately you turn your attention to James Green and how are we going to be able to beat James Green and what do we need to do? So all that stuff matters, and maybe Nick wrestles if he decides he wants to wrestle. So there's a lot going on. We put together a freestyle program that we're going to take our guys out to Vegas and wrestle in the UWW juniors, and we have a couple open guys. So we're back to work. It's time to get back to work. Obviously, when you get some success, you want more, and I think every coach is thinking the same way, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
If you're just joining us, we're talking to Rutgers Wrestling coach Scott Goodale. And, Coach, Tell me a little bit about Nick Soriano. I saw him wrestle in high school. I didn't get a chance to see Ashnault wrestle in high school, but just remember watching Nick in high school and the entire state tournament his senior year, he was just kind of toying with guys just to get a little sweat going. I mean, that's how talented this kid was. Never lost in high school. And what's it like when you get a wrestler of that caliber to come into your program? I know he went to Penn State his first year, decided to transfer. But you know, from my perspective as a high school sports reporter, seeing a guy like that is just a whole different level, because even in the NJSI championships, it's really tough to win a state championship, and this kid won one without really breaking a sweat.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, you get these guys that are just have unbelievable talent and you add an incredible work ethic. But here's the deal. In New Jersey, we're so stuck on that state tournament. And we tell our guys all the time, there's always somebody out there better. There's always somebody doing more or trying to, take bouts, so to speak. And that's kind of how we go about it. So here we get this incredible – he obviously goes to Penn State. He comes back, and he's just got an incredible work ethic. There's so much desire. And I don't know if people really understand how much he puts into this sport. I mean, obviously it's his craft, but just the way he trains and the way he prepares and the way he gets his mind right. Two totally different animals probably than Anthony. Anthony and Nick are really different, but Nick was obviously a super talent, but he understands he's got to kind of navigate the waters. You know, there's guys out there that are at a world level that are world champions, and he's beating guys that have won world titles, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's not just about winning a New Jersey state title for him, and it's probably not about winning a national title for him. There's so much more that he thinks he can attain, and that's kind of the way he goes about every single day. He's in there yesterday, and it was like 3 months ago. Like he's got a goal, and he's attacking the goal, and it's when he gets in that room, it's crazy. It's all business. It's a laser beam focus, and he doesn't matter who's wrestling next to him or around him or watching. It's just, this is what I got to do. And it's an incredible work ethic, man. It's unbelievable. It's something, it's hard to really describe. And I know Nick's been around it a little bit and has seen the practice room a little bit, but that's just how he goes about everyday living. And it's pretty cool to be around.
Coach, with Anthony Ashnault, obviously, you didn't think it could get any better with him capping off an undefeated season with a national title, but now he's already getting back to work. We mentioned before that he accepted an invitation to the Beat the Streets event at Madison Square Garden. He's taking on James Green, who's a former four-time All-American at Nebraska. He's been a freestyle juggernaut for the most part. He's been great in that realm for Team USA. What's it like for Anthony to take on a guy like James Green in a freestyle event, and the fact that it's a quick turnaround. He's going right from winning a national title in Pittsburgh to now going back to freestyle. And obviously, it's an off-season type of event, but now his college career is done, and this is what he's going to be focusing on. What's it like now for Anthony to be taking on a guy like James Green?
Well, I think Anthony has this, and he's had it all year. You've seen it up close and personal. He's had this whole rejuvenation of where he's at with his wrestling and what he can do. And he thinks there's a whole nother ceiling for him. And of course, that's moving on to world championships and Olympic championships. And that's kind of his mindset right now where he's at. Before he wrestles James Green, he's actually, he spent the last 3 days up in Cornell working out with Yanni and Jordan Oliver. And then he'll go to Pan Am's here next week to try to win a Pan Am gold. So it hasn't really stopped for him. He's continuing doing what he's doing. Obviously, there was some celebration. His brother got married. We had a great weekend with the Ashnault family. But Anthony's he's in that room. He's training. He's going where he needs to go to get better. And this is the next step for him. And he's really, really serious. And he believes he can win. He can win world championships and Olympic championships. And he's trying to make a team right now. And he wants to do it right out of high school. So it hasn't really stopped for him. He'll go to Pan Am's, like I said, next week. He'll get back. He'll wrestle James Green. He will not go to the U.S. Open because he won nationals. He doesn't have to. He's already qualified. And his really next major event other than the Pan Am's will be the World Team Trial. So it's a huge 2 months coming up for Anthony. And, again, nothing's really stopped other than the week celebration. It's a laser beam focus right now, and he just believes he can win. And he's excited. He's excited to wrestle James Green. It's up a weight. So he'll be a little bit smaller, but it's for a great event. It's a charity event. It's Beat the Streets, and Anthony wanted to be a part of that event. And that's just the type of kid he is. So he looks forward to this next chapter in his career for sure.
We're talking with Rutgers Wrestling coach Scott Goodale here on 97.3 ESPN. And, Coach, I'm sure you recruited both these guys heavily while they were in high school. What's the biggest jump they've made from when they were prep wrestlers to now college national champions? Is it physically? Is it mentally? Is it the way they go about their business? What would you say to a high school kid who has aspirations of becoming like these guys?
That's a great question, man. That is a great question because I've seen so much with both of them. And I've seen, I'll start with Anthony, just the way he's really mentally, how he's gotten so much better. He's always had this skill, but believe it or not, there's been plenty of doubt. And I'm sure there was a lot of pressure, right? He stuck it out with Rutgers. He came to Rutgers where he could have went anywhere in the country. And then there was a lot of pressure. And with that, there's so many expectations. And like I said, New Jersey State tournament isn't the end all. There's so many guys out there that have done the same thing, in a different state. And I've just seen so much maturity out of him, not only in the last 6 years, but really the last year, just his willingness to just let it go and relax and wrestle. And that's probably been the biggest thing for Anthony. He's always had tremendous skill. But, man, he approached me at the night. I get nervous, and Nick, you know this, but I get nervous. I'm walking back, and it's a quiet back corridor there at the national tournament where nobody's speaking because we have a guy on deck. And Anthony would look at me and be like, Coach, you don't really think I'm going to lose this match, right? Like, I'm fine. And that just was like, wow. He gets it, and he soaks in the moment. He enjoys the moment. And he just deals with a game plan and just the maturity levels probably. And of course, he works so hard. And then Nick, I've just seen him really work on. He's always had a tremendous work ethic, like I stated earlier. He just started working on his game and getting better in positions you would never think, right? He never turned anybody. And then all of a sudden we go to the Big Ten tournament because he put a lot of time into it, knew the only way to win a national title is got to ride people, and he's got to keep them down, and if he can turn them, great. And sure enough, in the Big Tens, he started getting riding time. He got riding time on DeSanto. He turned Lezak. He rode Michik in the national semis, and just riding time and then turning people was a big difference for Nick Suriano. And that's probably, from a wrestling standpoint, the biggest jump he's made was his top game. And the two of them are a little bit, like I said, they're different, but they both improve and they both continue to improve. I don't think you've seen the best wrestling out of both of those guys. They're going to continue to get better, so we're excited about that.
Now, Coach, I'm sure you spent a lot of time on the recruiting trail talking to high school wrestlers, their parents, their family, their coaches. Do you know right away if a kid has it to make it in college? I mean, college is such a different animal when you're talking about all the stuff that goes on outside of the sport. Yep. Can you tell right away if a kid, hey, this kid is mentally strong enough to handle what we're going to throw at him, or maybe this kid, I don't know if he can really, life is going to take him in a different direction. He's going to have different interests. Is he really dedicated enough? How do you figure out if a kid has the makeup to be a wrestler in the Big Ten?
That's another great question, man. No, the truth of the matter is no. You don't know. You have no idea. Like I said, it does not matter what you've done in high school. It's being able to handle the academic structure, the social structure, right? There's a lot of distractions at Rutgers. It's a great place. And then handling the wrestling, because every guy you're training with is just as good or better than you in some cases. So, no, you don't know. You don't know how it's going to handle. You need a special kind of individual. You need a worker. I know that. You obviously need talent. I get that. But there's been some great wrestlers come through, and not only our program, but all the programs, that some don't pan out. They've had great high school careers, but when you get in this setting and everything it takes to be a Division I wrestler and then a Big Ten wrestler, is you got to be able to handle the ups and downs. You got to be able to handle travel. You got to be handled being uncomfortable. It's a hard thing to do. These guys they've always won at a high school level. They've won at a high level, but you have to be able to handle everything. And it takes a special person to be able to do it at a really, really high level. And you don't know. I've recruited some great kids and with unbelievable character, and for whatever reason, whether it's injuries, dealing with that, there's a lot of adversity that goes with this sport. And it's, at the end of the day, it's one-on-one, and it's about you. And like I said, I've recruited a lot of kids that some weren't so great in high school, ended up having great college careers. I think of Kenny Theobald. And then there's been some world-class guys that just, for whatever reason, Division I wrestling isn't for them. So that's kind of where it's at. I think it's a crapshoot. I say it all the time. You just never know. And then every now and then we call them a 5%er. You get a 5%er. You get an Anthony Nassau or Nick Suriano, and those guys are 5%ers. They're rare. A Jason Knopf, a Bo Nickel, a Zane Rutherford. Those guys are rare. They're rare, and they're going to be special. But for the most part, it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to really put a finger on it and say this kid's going to be great, because you just never know.
Coach, speaking of the recruits, and you just mentioned the 5%ers, obviously there's a nice recruiting class that's coming in for Rutgers this coming season, and one of them, JoJo Aragona, he's also wrestling in that Beat the Streets event at Madison Square Garden next month. It's tough to classify him, I guess, as a 5%er right now because he hasn't stepped foot in a college wrestling room yet, but he was ranked number 1 in the country throughout the year. He capped off his high school career with a state title. Talk about him and the other recruits a little bit, knowing that they're finally able to come into the Rutgers wrestling room, and who knows, maybe 1, 2, all 3 of these top guys might be starting next year come November.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, is that this whole recruiting class has really, for the most part, won at an extremely high level. They've won national level events, whether it's the Beast of the East, the Ironman, Fargo, things like that. They've won the biggest tournaments, high school nationals. So JoJo, we feel is a 5%er. He's a special, special kid. He's won at the highest level. He's trained with us now for the past year within the rules, and he's wrestled with all of our guys and has a really, really good understanding of the sport. He's super stingy and super tough. Robbie Kennard has trained with us for the most part all year in our club in the RTC. So he's been really good, and we think he could have he's an incredible athlete. And once he really understands positioning and all that good stuff, he's going to be special. Jackson Turley, he's a Virginia kid, a prep school kid, won a prep national championship, and these guys can win at the highest level. There's no doubt about it. Devin Britton, who just signed an NLI from Northampton, PA kid. We got into the Lehigh Valley, and Devin was someone who wrestled JoJo to a really, really tough match at the BC. So these guys can do it at a high level. I think when we're out on the recruiting trail, the biggest thing we're looking for is, can this guy win at the national tournament? Can he score points at the national tournament? Is he dangerous? Can he continue to score? Is he defensive? Is he offensive? We're looking for guys that want to score points and ultimately win matches at the national tournament. I think this class, and there's more, Cody Harrison, all those guys, there's more out there that we have coming in. I think we have 6 guys coming in that we're super, super excited about, and we feel they can score points at the national tournament. And then you put on top of that our juniors that we've already have committed, which obviously because of NCAA rules I can't comment on, but they've done great at a national tournament. So we're excited about our recruiting. Everybody asks me the number one question, is this going to help your recruiting? Well, man, I hope so. I hope so. I hope they see that you can win a national title at Rutgers. It's state-of-the-art, one of the best and biggest in the country. So all that adds up to a perfect recipe for bringing in the best guys in the country.
We're talking with Rutgers Wrestling coach Scott Goodale. And, Coach, if you have time for 2 more questions.
Absolutely, man. Whatever you guys need.
All right, question number 1.
It's a 10 o'clock tea time.
Question number 1, when you're out on the recruiting trail and watching high school matches, who's crazier, wrestling moms or wrestling dads?
Oof, man. The wrestling dads they've lost their mind. It's incredible. I can't believe. And my dad was never like that, and I've been around some really, really unique parents, but man, these dads they're into the match, and the fact that they're allowed up against the ropes and able to scream right over the coach's shoulder is incredible to me. But they do it, man. They do it. Hey, listen, and it's in down your neck of the woods too. Those South Jersey parents are wild. So.
Oh yeah, we know all about it.
Yep.
Last question, Coach. I know you got a busy weekend ahead. When you're looking at that final photo at the national championships, and there's 10 guys sitting there, what's the common denominator with all those guys?
Just talent along with an unbelievable work ethic and really a mind. The mindset. That's what I see. When I look at that photo and I see all those, and I think there were 5 repeat champions, I can't express how hard that is to do. I didn't do it, so I can only imagine how hard it must be to do that. But it's their mindset, man. That's what separates them. The ability to just shut out the distractions and take care of your task at hand. But I sat there for a while. It's funny you asked that, man, because I sat there for a while. And I looked at those 10 guys, and I happened to be with my son because I was on the floor with him. And I'm like, you have no idea what goes in to these 3 days. Like, that's probably 15, 20 years. Or not 20 years because they're probably all 20, 22. But 15 years of just incredible work. And I remember telling them that. I go, you have to be a special person to be able to do this with and get rid of all distractions and all the adversity and just knuckle down for 3 days. And that's kind of what I thought about when I saw those guys. It's just an incredible mindset. There's no doubt about it.
Coach, man, we really appreciate you coming on board. It's always a pleasure to talk wrestling with you, and congratulations again to Nick and Anthony. We all know it's all coaching.
I have very little to do with it, that's for sure. Very little to do. But thank you guys, man. I really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, it's a great moment for your program, and congratulations again to Rutgers Wrestling, and keep it up, man. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you, all right?
You got it. Thanks, Coach.